Taoiseach Fitzmaurice.
Again, Carla, and I welcome the opportunity in speaking on this. Minister, as someone that comes from construction background, the one thing, and it's in the report, is about the subcontractors. I think that there should be a system that when you're paying the main contractor, that whatever list of subcontractors is on site, because it does become a problem, not everywhere, but here and there, that they'd be owed money, and they find it very difficult with some of the bigger operators to do a final sum, or even fortnightly. A lot of these needs to get paid, and it becomes a major problem. And these are small operators. They don't have the criteria, or they don't qualify under the procurement because they wouldn't have the turnover, and this is the problem under procurement rules. And I think that we need to make sure that there is a protection there, because they're vulnerable. There's no point in saying they're not. And sometimes, you know, we've heard the stories going around the different parts of the country that if they were owed 24,000, they might be told they'll get 20 and that's it, and they might have their tongue out for it. And I would encourage one part of that to make sure that we would put a sort of a guarantee in that they'd have to sign off whatever list of subcontractors that the main contractor had on site before the government paid the money, that it would be put across, be it whichever department, education or transport, TII or whoever, that it'd be sending that across. The other thing, and in principle, I want to be very clear, I don't have a problem with PPP if they're done right. That's being quite honest about it, if they're done right, but that's the problem. For the simple reason, we are bound by certain constraints when we're borrowing money, and it's basically nearly off balance sheet if we do it the right way. But I do have a big problem with primary care centres, Minister, and I would know of situations where we have done a deal on a primary care centre. Over 25 years, I think, is the length that's done. The banks that's given to that builder work on my understanding is an 18-year length, and the rest of it, then they have a few pound out of it. But the problem is, we weren't smart enough, in my opinion. If we put a clause in that there was €1 for that building after 25 years, we would nail it down, because they're paid for it. But we have to enter in again to a new contract with those people for the next 20 years, or 15 years, or whatever length of time we're doing. And I think it's an awful gap in what we're doing. We should nail it down. And I have checked this. You're looking at me. I've checked this with some of the people that has it done, that has this contract, and that's the reality of it. Also, Minister, I think that we should be looking more. There are roads that we're sort of looking about having funding for, and I've no problem with the PPP. If we done it in the same way, do the cost of it. You have to give the interest rate, and there has to be a bit of space for everyone. There's no point in saying someone is going to enter into something and be losing money, and no one has a problem with that. But we need to nail it down over, be it a 20-year period or 25-year period, and after that, then the asset is back in the hands of the state at a minimal sum, not in some cases like where it's a balloon figure near the end. So them are the two things. I'm not going to hog it, that I would like the state to look at, and I believe there are roads out there at the moment, Minister, that we should be looking at this, and roads that aren't even being thinking about with the likes of the Department of Transport or the TII, to give. It's fair enough at a budget. We end up at a budget that you have $1 billion or 800 million or whatever, and you cannot deliver everything you want. There's no one cutting themselves here. But there is an opportunity over a 20 or 25-year period to deliver the infrastructure you need through this system. But I would emphasise once more that we need to nail it down and do it right. And obviously on roads, there has to be a certain governments, if enough traffic doesn't go through, they have to pick up the difference. There's no one quibbling about that. That's what you enter into, and that's it. But I would worry about some of the primary care centres, that the system we have gone into, because I think it's an open goal, And look, I know some of them builders, and it's an open goal for them. And I think we need to make sure, if we go back and look at some of the stuff we're doing, that was done. And I think we should watch what we're doing in the future. Thank you very much, Ken Corley.